Have you ever wondered what would happen if you just stopped? Stopped answering messages. Stopped showing up. Stopped pretending you cared about a job that didn't care about you. Would anyone notice? Would the world stop spinning, or would it keep going like you were never even there? I used to ask myself that a lot. But 6 months ago, I stopped asking because I actually did it. It's strange, how easy it was to vanish. One morning, I closed my laptop, stared at the screen reflecting my tired face, and whispered, "What if I just don't log in tomorrow?" And then I didn't. The weirdest part? Nobody noticed. For context, I'm Benjamin, 28, worked remotely for a mid-sized tech company. We were a decent team once. Developers, designers, a couple of project managers, and a boss who actually gave a damn. But when our manager quit, the structure collapsed overnight. Suddenly, everyone was doing their own thing. Meetings got shorter. Then they stopped altogether. No check-ins, no deadlines. Just chaos disguised as remote flexibility. I remember that first Monday after our manager left. I opened Slack, saw 0 unread messages, and felt this cold emptiness in my chest. I typed, "Morning, team!" Waited. Nothing. Not even a single emoji. That silence said everything. We weren't a team anymore. We were ghosts pretending to be busy in our own corners of the internet. So when I stopped logging in, there wasn't a big dramatic reason. No rebellion, no burnout breakdown. It was more like I just slipped between the cracks. I told myself it was temporary, just a week off to breathe. But then a week turned into 2. 2 turned into a month. And before I knew it, 6 months had passed, and my company still thought I was working on back-end admin stuff. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, my paycheck would land in my account. I'd stare at it, fingers hovering over my phone, ready to report the glitch. But then my mind would whisper, "They don't care." Why should you? That's the line that ruined me. Because once you believe you're invisible, it's almost impossible to come back. At first, the freedom was intoxicating. I'd wake up late, make coffee, walk my dog, and sit on the balcony while the rest of the world drowned in emails and Zoom calls. I started gaming again, something I hadn't done since college. I binged entire seasons of shows in one sitting. I even learned how to cook, badly, but still. For a while, it felt like I'd hacked life, like I'd cracked some secret code, getting paid to exist. But here's the thing about freedom. It gets heavy when it's stolen. I started noticing little things that made my stomach twist. HR emails with words like mandatory compliance check, my name missing from project documents, random calendar invites I wasn't included in. Each time I'd freeze. My heart would pound so hard I could hear it echo in my chest. I'd imagine someone typing my name into a search bar, realizing I hadn't contributed a single thing in months. I'd picture a meeting where someone asks, "Wait, what does Benjamin even do now?" And the silence that would follow. Every day felt like living on borrowed time. And yet, I couldn't stop. Because once you taste that kind of freedom, the kind where no one owns your hours, where you wake up because you want to, not because you have to, you start realizing how much of your life you've traded for money. And when you realize that, going back feels impossible, but it's not like I was proud. Some mornings I'd stare at my reflection, whispering, "You're a fraud, a thief." Other mornings I'd smile at the sunlight and think, "You beat the system." Both feelings lived inside me, fighting every single day. I even started journaling, something to make sense of it all. I'd write down every day that passed without them noticing. Like tally marks on a prison wall. Day 67, still no emails. Day 103, HR sent a generic survey, ignored. Day 142, payroll still running. I don't exist. Some nights I'd wake up drenched in sweat, convinced I'd heard my work phone buzz. I'd check, only to find nothing. Just silence. And that silence became its own kind of monster. Because when no one notices you're gone, You start to wonder if you were ever really there. I think that's when it hit me. The real reason I didn't log back in wasn't because I wanted freedom. It was because I wanted to see how long I could go before the world realized I didn't matter. By month 4, the guilt started to fade. The fear didn't. I avoided LinkedIn, blocked every work contact. I even changed my email notifications so I wouldn't see the company logo. But deep down, I knew this couldn't last. No system is perfect. Sooner or later, someone would notice. And when they did, everything would collapse. But what I didn't expect was who would notice first and what they'd uncover about me. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. It was just a random morning, nothing special. I was sitting on my couch, half awake, scrolling through memes with my coffee, when I saw a Slack notification pop up on my phone. My heart froze. I hadn't opened Slack in months. The notification said, "Hey Ben, quick question about the back-end API keys. Got a sec?" Leela, she used to be on my team. Smart, quiet, the kind of person who'd double-check everything. She was one of the few who still replied to my messages before I disappeared. And now, after 6 months, she was reaching out. My thumb hovered over the notification. Should I open it? Ignore it? If I opened it, they'd know I was online. But if I ignored it, she might follow up somewhere else. My heart raced as I stared at my own reflection in the black screen of my phone. 6 months of silence. And it could all end with one message. I didn't reply. Hours passed. No follow-up, no call, but that night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing that ping echo in my mind. It's insane how a simple message can feel like a gun to your head when you're living in a lie. I started to realize something ugly. This freedom I'd built wasn't peace, it was just pause. Like I'd pressed the world's mute button, but it was still spinning, still watching, still waiting to unpause me when I least expected it. I'd won myself time, but not forgiveness. By month 5, things got weirder. I'd wake up in cold sweats, terrified I'd miss some random system alert or a paycheck error. Every noise felt suspicious. The doorbell, my phone vibrating, an unknown number calling. I stopped answering calls altogether. Even my friends noticed I'd become distant. Dude, you working or retired? My best friend Jason laughed one night over beers. I smirked. Somewhere in between, he grinned, clueless. Man, you're living the dream. I almost choked on my drink. The dream? If only he knew. Because beneath that calm surface, my entire sense of identity was cracking. I wasn't working. I wasn't creating. I wasn't even part of something anymore. And the longer I stayed invisible, the more I started to question if I even existed. There was this one night. I'll never forget it. I was walking my dog past midnight, the streets empty, fog hanging low. I looked at the apartments around me, tiny squares of glowing windows. Behind every one of them was someone working late, watching TV, living their normal lives. And me? I was a ghost living on borrowed paychecks. I whispered into the night. What am I even doing? My voice cracked. The dog looked up at me, confused. I laughed, but it came out broken. For the first time, I didn't feel free. I felt hollow. Like I'd disappeared not just from work, but from myself. Still, I couldn't stop. Every time I thought about coming clean, fear strangled me. I imagined the HR emails, the termination letters, maybe even legal trouble. But worst of all, I imagined the judgment. People whispering, he got away with it for 6 months? What kind of person does that? And I didn't have an answer. The strangest part? I started missing the things I once hated. The early meetings, the Slack banter, even the pointless feedback sessions. I missed feeling seen. It's ironic. You spend your whole life wanting to be free from structure, and when you finally are, you realize structure was the only thing keeping you from collapsing. Then came the second crack. Payroll. One Friday morning, I logged into my bank app. No deposit. My stomach dropped. I refreshed it 3 times. Nothing. I opened my email. Still nothing. Panic hit like a wave. Was this it? Did they finally notice? My breathing got shallow. I paced around the room, palms sweating. Every rational thought gone. Then, 15 minutes later, a ping, direct deposit, company name, Thrav 482. I almost collapsed in relief. It was late, but it was there. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. But it wasn't joy. It was the laughter of someone who just escaped death by an inch. And that's when it hit me. I was addicted. Addicted to the risk. Addicted to the idea that maybe, just maybe, I could outsmart the entire system by doing nothing. The following week, I started documenting everything. A secret Google Doc titled The Disappearance Experiment. Every thought, every fear, every rationalization. It was my way of pretending there was purpose behind it all. Like I was running some grand social test on corporate blindness. Instead of just being a coward hiding from accountability, but deep down, I knew. It wasn't an experiment. It was an escape, and every day I stayed silent. That escape turned into a prison. By month 6, I stopped feeling guilt. I started feeling paranoia. My laptop sat in a corner, untouched, but sometimes I swore I could hear it buzzing. I'd stare at it like it was a ticking bomb. I even taped over the webcam as if someone might be watching me. My heart would race at every delivery knock. Every email notification from noreplycompany.com. I lived like that, half free, half terrified, until one night, an email changed everything. It wasn't from HR. It wasn't from payroll. It was from my old manager, the one who quit before all this started. Subject line, "You still with them?" My heart stopped. It took me 20 minutes to open that email. 20 full minutes of pacing, breathing, second-guessing. My old manager, Ryan, hadn't contacted me in nearly a year. Why now? Why this? I finally clicked it open, my pulse slamming in my ears. "Hey, Ben, hope you're doing well." Random question. "Are you still with the company? I got a weird message from someone over there asking if I had your updated contact info." "Ryan?" I froze. My entire body went numb. Someone at the company was looking for me. After 6 months of silence, someone finally realized I was gone. And somehow, Ryan, the only person who actually cared back then, was the first to get the message. My first instinct was to delete the email, pretend I never saw it. But curiosity clawed its way in. Who was asking about me? Why now? My mind went wild. Maybe HR discovered a payroll discrepancy. Maybe IT flagged inactive accounts. Or maybe, just maybe, someone had mentioned my name in a meeting, and they all realized at once. Wait, where the hell is Benjamin? That night I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, eyes open, replaying every possible outcome. Would they fire me? Press charges? Publicly humiliate me in some all-staff memo? My mind turned every shadow into a threat. By morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I opened my old work email. Password still worked. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely type. I braced myself for the flood. Warnings, inquiries, suspension letters, but there was nothing. No messages. No alerts. Just silence. It was like I'd never existed. That was somehow worse. But then, as I was about to log out, I noticed something strange. In the company Slack directory, my profile still said active.green. Online. I hadn't logged in for 6 months. Yet somehow, my account was still active 24/7. What the hell? Was someone using my credentials? A bot? Some system glitch? My stomach twisted. For a moment, I wondered, What if someone's been pretending to be me this whole time? Responding to messages, taking credit, keeping my name alive to cover up their own mess? That thought made me physically sick. I slammed my laptop shut, took a walk around the block, trying to calm down. The winter air hit my face, sharp and cold. I stared at the skyline, feeling small, like I was being erased from my own story. But paranoia doesn't fade easily. Later that evening, I logged back in through an incognito browser. Checked my profile again. Still green. I scrolled through my message history. Empty. Then I checked the admin logs, a trick I'd learned back when I actually cared about my job. There it was. Last login, yesterday, 2:43 p.m. My blood ran cold. I hadn't logged in. Not once in 6 months. So who did? I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. It felt like watching someone walk through my old house, touching everything I left behind. Was this my punishment? Watching someone else wear my name like a mask? I almost replied to Ryan that night, almost told him everything. The lie, the guilt, the fear. But I couldn't. Because saying it out loud would make it real. Instead, I just sat there, whispering into the dark. What if I don't exist anymore? What if someone else took my place? Days passed. I couldn't think straight. My freedom had turned into obsession. I started tracking the logs daily, documenting the fake logins, watching my activity like a stalker. There were patterns, always mid-afternoon, same IP range as the company's internal network. It wasn't random. Someone inside was keeping me alive. But why? Then came another email. Not from Ryan, from HR. Subject, quick check-in, employee data audit. Hi, Benjamin. We're conducting a standard employee verification process. Can you confirm your current role and department assignment by end of week? Thanks, HR Ops team. My heart stopped. They knew. They had to know. The timing was too perfect. I stared at that email for hours. Every version of my life flashed before me. The job I abandoned. The co-workers I ghosted. The person I used to be before this all spiraled. I wanted to come clean. I really did. But every word I imagined typing felt like a confession that would destroy me. What would I even say? Hi, yeah, I've been pretending to work for half a year. Sorry about that. It sounded insane. So I did the only thing I knew how to do. Nothing. I didn't reply. 3 days passed. No follow-up. No suspension. My paycheck still hit. The silence returned. But it didn't feel safe anymore. It felt planned, like someone out there was testing me. On the 4th night, I dreamt of Ryan. He was standing in my old office, back turned, staring at my empty chair. When he turned around, his face was blank, featureless, just a smooth, hollow surface where eyes and a mouth should be. He pointed at me and said, "You shouldn't have disappeared." I woke up gasping. That morning, I finally replied to him. "Hey, Ryan, yeah, still technically with them. Weird times. Who asked about me?" He replied 5 minutes later. Some guy named Aaron. Said he's your new project lead. I just told him I didn't have your number anymore. Everything okay? Aaron. That name hit me like ice water. Because I knew Aaron. He was hired right before I vanished. I barely talked to him, but I remember he was sharp, ambitious, the kind of guy who'd climb over anyone to look good. If he was asking about me, it wasn't random, he was digging. And suddenly, I realized something terrifying. Whoever had been logging in under my name, it might have been him. The next few days felt like waiting for an explosion I couldn't see. Every vibration from my phone made my stomach twist. Every knock at the door sent my heart racing. I knew something was coming. I just didn't know when. I couldn't stop thinking about Aaron, the perfect company man, smart, charismatic, a natural talker, the kind of guy who could sell you your own house and make you thank him for it. I remember him clearly that first week before our manager quit. We were in a video meeting and he was already dominating the call, talking like he'd been there for years. I barely said a word. He'd looked straight into his camera, smiled, and said, "Benjamin, right? Back-end stuff, yeah? We'll sync soon. We never did. Now 6 months later, he was my new project lead. And apparently, the only one who remembered I existed. Something didn't add up. If Aaron was using my credentials, that meant he had access to internal systems, maybe even my code repository. But I'd left everything clean. No open projects, no stored passwords. So how could he have logged in, unless someone on the inside gave him access? I opened the admin logs again. There it was. User, Benjamin K., Logan successful. Same timestamp pattern, same internal IP, but now there was something new, a secondary log. User Aaron V. accessed shared workspace, Benjamin K. permissions. My heart sank. He wasn't just logging in. He was using my identity to manage projects. To the system, to the company, I was still working. That's when it hit me. I hadn't just disappeared. I'd been replaced. The next morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I opened my work email again, not through the company portal this time, but directly through the back-end server. My old login still had partial access. I scrolled through the sent folder. There were dozens of emails I didn't write. All professional, detailed, believable, signed Benjamin K. He'd even copied my writing style, the phrasing, the tone. Every message felt like a ghost version of me. I felt sick. There I was, a shadow of myself, trapped in the words of another man. He wasn't just covering for me. He was living as me, and the company had no idea. That realization broke something inside me. All this time, I'd convinced myself that I'd escaped, that I'd somehow outsmarted a soulless system that never cared. But the truth? I wasn't free. I'd just left an empty seat, and someone else had quietly filled it. It made me wonder if any of us are ever truly irreplaceable. I decided to confront him. It wasn't bravery, it was panic mixed with ego. I needed to know why, so I created a new Gmail account, something generic, bank.realagmail.com, and sent him an email. "Hey, Aaron, I know what you're doing. Stop using my credentials. We need to talk. B." I hit send and waited. No reply that day. Or the next. But on the third night, my inbox pinged. He'd replied, "You shouldn't have disappeared, Benjamin. You made this easy. That was it. No greeting, no denial." Just that one sentence. I read it over and over. My hands were shaking, my throat dry. There was something cold about it. Not angry, not guilty. Just factual, like he was stating gravity. I typed back furiously, "You stole my identity." "That's illegal. I can report you." A minute later, his reply popped up. "Report me? To who? HR thinks you're me. I am Benjamin now." The room spun. I felt my chest tighten, heart pounding so hard it hurt. I looked around my apartment. Messy, unshaven. Empty pizza boxes everywhere. And for the first time, I saw what I'd become, a ghost screaming at a wall. While someone else lived my life, he sent one more message. "Don't worry. You'll keep getting paid. You always did love free money." That line hit deeper than anything else. Because he was right. I did love it. I'd built my entire silence around it. For the first time in 6 months, I realized I wasn't just a victim. I was part of the con. I shut my laptop. I couldn't breathe. I took my dog for a walk, desperate to feel something normal, but the streets felt different. The city lights felt colder. Every reflection in a window looked like someone else's life. When I got back home, there was an envelope under my door. No address, no sender. Just my name, printed neatly across the front. Inside, a single page. A printed screenshot of that email thread, and one line. Handwritten at the bottom, "You're already gone. Benjamin." I dropped it, hands trembling, heart frozen. I didn't even bother checking the locks that night, because what good would it do when I wasn't even sure who I was anymore? The next morning, I woke up before dawn, sweating. I hadn't really slept, just drifted in and out of shallow nightmares where my laptop whispered my name. That envelope sat on the coffee table, untouched. The paper inside had curled a little overnight. Like it was breathing. I wanted to believe it was a prank. Maybe Ryan was messing with me. Maybe Aaron was just trying to scare me into silence. But the handwriting, it was mine. Same slanted R's, same crooked lowercase g's. It was my handwriting. I stared at it for so long, I started to feel dizzy. My own name. My own words. Coming back to haunt me. You're already gone, Benjamin. Gone where? I checked my accounts again. Payroll still active. My work login still worked. Everything still running as if I'd never left. Except I had left. I hadn't touched a single line of code in 6 months. So who was keeping this ghost version of me alive? By mid-afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I called Ryan, my old manager, the only person who might actually believe me. He picked up on the second ring. Ben? Damn, man, it's been a while. His voice was warm, casual, too casual. Yeah, I croaked. Listen, Ryan, you remember that email you sent me about Aaron asking for my info? Yeah, why? Something's not right. He's been using my credentials, logging in under my name. I don't even work there anymore. Silence. Then a confused laugh. What are you talking about? Of course you work there. You never quit, my heart stuttered. What? Ben, you emailed me from your company account last week. Said things were hectic, but you were doing fine. Even asked me about a DevOps contact I had. You sure you're okay, man? My breath caught in my throat. Ryan. I didn't send that email. He chuckled nervously. Come on, don't mess with me. I'm serious. I snapped. I haven't logged in since April. I'm not joking. He interrupted me. Benjamin, I literally just talked to you on Slack a few days ago. The world tilted. I felt like I'd stepped into someone else's dream. Ryan. Who did you talk to? I whispered. The account said Benjamin K. He hesitated. Ben, you okay? You sound off, I hung up. I didn't even say goodbye. I just sat there, shaking, staring at my phone. There it was, proof that someone was living as me. Talking to people, sending messages, maintaining the illusion. But the deeper horror wasn't that they were pretending. It was that everyone believed them. To the company, to my coworkers, to my manager. I never disappeared. Benjamin never quit. He was still right there. Working, typing, existing, which meant that the version of me I left behind had somehow become real. And I, the real Benjamin, was the ghost. That night, I couldn't stand my apartment. Every light felt too bright, every shadow too deep. My reflection in the TV screen looked off, pale, almost transparent. I whispered to it, "You're still here, right?" It didn't answer. I opened my laptop. I needed proof. Something concrete. I logged into Slack again. There it was, my profile. Status, active. I clicked into my DMs, and there it was. A message from Aaron, stop looking. You'll make things worse. I froze. He knew I was watching. Then, seconds later, another message appeared. But this one wasn't from him. It was from me. Don't listen to him. My blood ran cold. I stared at the screen, shaking my head, whispering, "What the hell is this?" My laptop camera light blinked once, a tiny green flash, and then went dark again. Then another message appeared. "You wanted to disappear, Benjamin?" "You did. Now stay gone." I slammed the lid shut. My hands were trembling so hard I could barely breathe. It felt like the walls were closing in. My own name, my digital self, had become something I couldn't control. And the worst part? I wasn't even sure I wanted to stop it. Maybe this was what I deserved. to vanish quietly, replaced by someone better, more efficient, more useful, someone who actually worked. I sat there for hours, in the dark, trying to convince myself that I was still real. I touched my face, my chest, my heartbeat. It was there, but it didn't feel enough, because in that moment, I realized something truly horrifying. When I'd stopped showing up for work, when I'd decided to disappear, it wasn't just from my job. It was from life. And now, life had simply moved on without me. The next morning, I packed a small bag and left my apartment. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay there anymore. I checked into a cheap motel off the highway. No Wi-Fi, no mirrors, just silence. I spent the next few days writing everything down. Every detail, every login, every message. I told myself it was evidence, that maybe one day I'd show someone and they'd believe me. But deep down, I knew it wasn't for them. It was for me. Proof that I had once existed. By the end of the week, I decided to test something. I logged into my company dashboard one last time. The login worked instantly, but when the home page loaded, something had changed. There was a new profile photo beside my name, not my old one. Not my face, a different face, Aaron's. I stared at it, numb. My name, his face. And right beneath it the words, Senior Developer, active since 2019. That's when I laughed, a deep, hollow laugh that hurt my throat, because in a way it was poetic. I'd wanted to see how long it would take before they noticed I was gone. Turns out, they never had to. Someone had simply taken my place, and the system kept running like nothing ever happened. Maybe that's what we all are in the end. Names on a payroll. Logins that can be swapped. Data that doesn't care who's behind the screen. And the cruelest part? I think I envied him. Because while I was out here hiding, haunted by guilt and silence, he was still Benjamin. The world believed it, and I was nothing more than a forgotten username. I don't know how long I've been here. The days have started to melt together, mornings bleeding into nights, the same pale light seeping through the curtains, the same silence pressing against my chest. Sometimes I hear things, the hum of the refrigerator, the creak of the ceiling. But in those small moments of quiet between sounds, I swear I can hear typing. Soft, steady, like someone's working in the next room. I tell myself it's my imagination. That the sound is just my mind replaying old habits. But deep down, I know better. Because sometimes, the typing stops, and then I hear a notification sound. The same one my laptop used to make. That's when I remember. I don't even have the laptop anymore. I smashed it a week ago, or maybe that was just a dream. Honestly, I can't tell the difference anymore. When I finally worked up the courage to look at myself in the mirror again, I noticed something strange. My reflection didn't blink when I did, it just stared, slightly off, a half-second behind me. I whispered, "Who are you?" It smiled. That's when I realized something I'd been trying not to accept, the version of me that disappeared from the world, the one who stopped answering calls, stopped working, stopped trying, had left a gap, and something had filled it. Not a hacker, not Aaron, not the company, me, or rather, the version of me that everyone needed me to be, efficient, reliable, predictable, a digital echo that never got tired. Never felt guilt, never made mistakes. Maybe that's what happens when you live too long through screens. When your worth becomes measured in green dots beside your name, or the timestamps of your last activity. Maybe eventually, the system decides it doesn't need you anymore, just the parts that are useful. And once that happens, you stop being a person. You become a presence, the kind that lingers long after you've left the room. I keep thinking about that last message from my clone. You wanted to disappear. You did. Now stay gone. At first I hated it. Now I think it was mercy. Maybe this was the universe's way of giving me a clean exit. A quiet erasure without pain, without chaos, just fading, leaving behind the version that everyone liked better. Sometimes I think about logging back in, sending one last message, telling everyone the truth. But what would I even say? Hey guys, the real Benjamin's still alive. The one who couldn't handle life, who ran away, who got replaced by a better copy. No, that would ruin everything. Let them have their perfect Benjamin. Because the truth is, I'm tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of feeling like I need to exist for something or someone or some system that doesn't even notice the difference. So tonight I'm writing this. My final confession, not for them, for me. If anyone ever finds this story, if anyone ever wonders what happened to me, just know this. Didn't die. I just logged off. And in a world where being seen means being consumed, maybe disappearing was the only way to finally be free. The lights flicker again. Somewhere, a notification sound echoes. Faint, familiar. I almost smile. Because somewhere out there, Benjamin is still online, still typing, still alive. And me, I'm finally not.